It's basically the day before Valentine's Day, 2024, and as you can imagine, everywhere is filled around with couples, and I guess this idea of romanticizing being in a relationship, which is fair enough, I guess. You know, pitting into one day, and just wanted to make a video on like not really about Valentine's Day itself, but about kind of my stance on why I'm at the moment choosing to be single rather than be in a relationship. And to be honest, this is, something that I do think about a lot. I don't necessarily regret my action at the moment. I mean, I don't think I will in the future either. Actually, I definitely know I won't. But I just wanted to explain, like, my kind of reasoning and my mindset at the moment when it comes to that, because honestly, I'm 24, right? I'm 24, and kind of society is put this image and picture where you should be in a relationship at this stage. There's an image that you've just gone through kind of the levels of life, you could say, at least in the Western world, where you go to school, you then go to like sixth form or college or whatever, and then you can either go and choose to go to work or just choose to go to university, then basically start work. End of the day, you're working, and now you're expected to kind of be in a relationship where it's pretty much supposed to be long term. And kind of looking around myself and situations where my friends are in, that is genuinely the general consensus, because literally, I'm not even gonna lie, I'd say an upper 90%, right? At least in the 90s for sure, percent of my friends are in a relationship. Now, I'm not saying being in a relationship is a bad thing, definitely not. But what I'm saying is the reason why, you know, I can jump into something now, but I know like there's something within me it would have deep regret. I don't know how to explain it, but I would have deep regret jumping in a relationship. Now, that sounds bad on camera, and it kind of sounds bad when I say it out loud, but hear me out. The reason why I say that is because at the moment, like, I'm putting in a lot of my hours into myself, right? You could say that's kind of selfish in a way, but it's for self development, self improvement, whatever. I'm putting a lot of my hours into just improving the character I'm in, and the reason why is because I understand at the moment, as a young person in the early 20s, I'm 24, that I'm actually very malleable at the moment. And if you're in your 20s or if you're younger than that, right, you will understand this as well, in a sense that I'm very malleable. You have to act as a sponge, soak in as much information, gain as much skills as possible, because you're not in your final form. You haven't completed all the levels, the segments, whatever. You haven't reached a state where you're like, damn, look at the things around me. This is what I've achieved. Not just the things around me, but look at the things that I've managed to amass into my life. Look at where I am in my career. Look at about where what I'm doing with the amount of money I'm making. Or success is definitely something that's very subjective. But if you look at yourself and you're like, okay, I haven't really achieved the things I really want to achieve, and that's what I'm feeling right now. I feel like I'm literally barely scratching the surface of what I want to do, what I want to be, or who I want to be in the future. And from my experience, being in a relationship, it does take a lot of time, and you kind of have to. You kind of have to take a lot of time, because end of the day, you're in a partnership and you want to be supportive and you want to be the best person for that significant other, of course. Um, and because it takes a lot of time at the moment, I just feel like if I was to jump into something like that, then honestly, I wouldn't be able to focus completely on myself. And if I get to a stage where, let's say I'm about 30, where I really want to know that and I want to settle down or whatever, I have this underlying kind of feeling of not actually achieving what I want to achieve because I feel like I haven't put the maximum effort, aka the maximum amount of hours that I would have had if I was single. Right? I don't know if that makes sense. Basically, you're given amount of hours. You delegate stuff to improve yourself, aka fitness. You probably put X amount of hours in a week. For your career, you put X amount of hours in a week. For you acquiring knowledge, learning about that kind of stuff, reading, basically consumption of positive knowledge where you can use, building yourself. That's X amount a week, aka personal development. If you have a side hustle, I'm making YouTube videos, but anything that you might be doing, that's another amount of weeks. And then on top of that, a relationship, that's a huge chunk as well. That's a massive portion of hours. And sometimes this is me being a little bit pessimistic, and I hate the word pessimistic because I really don't like being pessimistic. I always like being optimistic, but let's say hypothetically that relationship was to fail at 28 or 29 years old, right? And then like, what did you do that for? Like, that's why I'm thinking, like, why all of that for nothing? You know, all of that for nothing. But that's just me being extremely pessimistic, right? That's me being extremely pessimistic. Of course, like, I feel like when you're in something, you learn a lot about yourself, you learn about your thing, whatever, like, you learn about being in a relationship, it's a skill in itself. But I just feel like I really want to put so much emphasis into improving myself just because I know I'm not where I want to be. And because of that, I've chosen not to be in a relationship. That is the underlying fact. Now, that doesn't mean not to date. I think that's a kind of a separate thing because I think being in a relationship, dating, I think that's all a skill in itself. It's communication, it's interaction with people. You know, it's a skill. You want to be able to develop it. I'm not saying you should go cold hard turkey and like be just stuck in your room 24/7. Nah. I'm just saying, like, just choose your relationship wisely, maybe. Because the thing is, you might be in a relationship where you find someone that actually thinks so similar in that frame of mind, where they're on like a journey of constant improvement. Then I think that's a bit of a different story. That's really good because in that case, you both basically can work on things. You're working yourself, push each other, motivate each other, and have the benefit of being in a relationship. But from my experience, I don't know, at least from my point of view, that is extremely rare. I've not encountered that, and yeah, I just think that's how I want to spend. And also, if I'm gonna spend a portion of my life single, then for certain I hope it's this stage of my life, where it's the early 20s, where it's rather than being the late 20s slash 30s, 40s. I don't want to do that. I don't think I want to do that. No way. I want to use this time really effectively to just knuckle down and just go all out on the things that the skills that I think that will develop me into the person I want to become, and put the hours, because at the end of the day, honestly, success is very strongly correlated and linked to time, the number of hours you put into something. And the more time you get to dedicate into something, the better you become, the better that skill gets developed. I just think it's a matter of distributing your time effectively. And sometimes it's difficult because, you know, when you're around, when I said 90% of my friends are in a relationship, it does seem fun. It seems really nice, like, to be able to go on dates, to be able to do all this thing, like, just have someone really to kind of talk to in a way. But again, I'm not gonna lie, like, I don't know if I actually I don't know if I really deep down miss that, but it just seems fun. But at the same time, I don't know, the way I'm thinking right now is that that will all happen, it will be put into place, it will come when it's time. Just right now, go in all blazing, all guns blazing on one thing or the things that you want to really develop on. And don't ever feel like you want to rush into anything, because I think that's the worst thing. Don't ever feel like you want to rush into something just because your friends are doing that, or just because society is telling you one thing, that you should be in a relationship, or your family's like pushing you to do something. Nah, don't do that. Never do that. Let it be in its own time. Work on yourself, work really hard on yourself, develop your character, and everything else will fall into place. Good luck.